everyone. Welcome back to Glue La La. If you're new here, my name is Jess. I hope you'll consider subscribing and make sure to say hi in the comments. If you are already subscribed, welcome back and let me know how your week is going so far. I really love to hear from all of you. I usually really like to set up a tiered tray in my house, but for Christmas I have to take it down because I set a Christmas tree up where I normally put my tiered tray. So I'm really excited to get it back out and get it decorated for Valentine's Day. So today I have a variety of small projects that can be used on a tiered tray for Valentine's Day. Alright everyone, let's get started. For the first project, you'll need 8 of these tumbling tower blocks from the Dollar Tree. And I just hot glued 2 of them together, and I did that with all 8 of the blocks. Next, I took some of these giant craft sticks that I got from Walmart. You can see they're a lot bigger than a regular size craft stick. And I always like to use my paper trimmer to cut these because they just come out a little bit straighter. So I cut these 6 down into 4-inch lengths, and you'll need 12 of these all together. So once I had all of my craft sticks cut, I kind of lined them up and I left just a slight little gap in between each of the 3 craft sticks. And then I hot glued one of those bigger blocks that we had glued together, and I glued it on the end, and I left just a little bit of a overhang of the craft sticks because you'll see here now I'm gonna stack up the craft sticks and we're forming a little box, if that helps you kind of understand what I'm doing here. So I glued another set of 3 craft sticks onto the end of the tumbling tower blocks, and then I repeated that on the other side. And then once all of that was in place, then that's whenever I hot glued the other 2 sets of blocks to the inside so that I could hot glue the remaining 3 sticks on the 4th side of the box. To create a base for the box, I just traced around the box on a piece of lightweight chipboard, but I wanted to get the box stained first before I put the base on. So I am just using my favorite antique wax by Waverly, and I brush it on, and then I like to wipe it off with either a paper towel or a baby wipe because it really helps show the wood grain of the craft sticks a little bit more. So once I had the antique wax on everything, then I went back through with the plaster color by Waverly and I dry brushed it on the box, but I did it kind of heavy because I wanted more of the plaster color to show. So now I'm taking the elephant color and using a stylus tool, I'm just going to create dots in all of the corners of the box to kind of look like little fake nail heads that are sticking out of the box. So it kind of gives it that faux look like it's nailed together, but it isn't. And then I glued the base of the box on. Now that the box is all put together, I'm going to put floral foam on the inside, and then using hot glue, I'm going to cover the top with the floral moss. And then this is where you can kind of get creative. So I just decided to stick a couple white flowers in mine, and then I did tuck one of these little sequined red hearts from the Dollar Tree, but I didn't glue anything in so that way I can change it out later for other seasons. And here's how our little box turned out. I think it's really cute, and I'm excited that I'll be able to keep it on my tray no matter what the holiday is. For the next project, I'm going to use this 2-pack of wooden hearts that I found from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just using my sanding block to sand off the glitter because I'm going to paint it with this crimson color by Waverly. And because the heart is purple, I did end up giving it 2 coats, and I made sure that I let each coat dry really well in between. Then I took my plaster color and I just did a little bit of dry brushing, and I concentrated more on the edges of the heart, and after I had all of the edges dry brushed, then I went through and added just a little bit more towards the center just to kind of give it more of that whitewashed distressed type of look. To dress the heart up a little bit more, I'm using some of this lace ribbon from the Dollar Tree, and I just wrapped it around it was about the center of the heart, and I wrapped it around twice, and I made sure that it crisscrossed just a little bit so that you could see both layers. And then I took some jute and I did the same thing. I just wrapped it around a few times, but I made sure that the jute was crisscrossing on itself so that you could see how many times that I wrapped it around. And then once I had the jute glued in place, I decided to dress it up just a little bit more, and they have these wooden heart stickers from the Dollar Tree, so I took one off of the pack, and they always have a foam dot on the back, so I just peeled that off and hot glued it into place. And then to cover up the hole at the top of the heart, I just created a simple bow using 2 lengths of jute twine, and I just hot glued it over the hole. Here's a look at the finished heart. I really think this is pretty, and even though I made this for Valentine's Day, I think you could actually make a bunch of those and hang them on your Christmas tree too. A few weeks ago, I made something similar to this that I'm about to show you, and I turned it into a garland. So I'm not going to give you a real in-depth tutorial on this, but basically I just traced around that other wooden heart onto foam board. And then in the other one that I did, I had covered the hearts with yarn, but I'm going to show you here, if you change up the material that you're covering the hearts with, it gives it a different look. And this is a really great way to use as a filler in your tiered tray, because it'll take up a little space if you have a little gap here and there in your tiered tray. So for this first one, I just covered it in jute, and it covered the whole foam so you couldn't see any of the white showing through. And then I had found this fuzzy yarn from the Dollar Tree, and I thought that would make a really cute heart. And then I decided to try some baker's twine, because they sell that at the Dollar Tree also. But the baker's twine I'm using here, I actually already had in my stash. I think I had got it at Michael's. But here you can see how all 3 hearts look together. And I'm just going to tuck these into my tiered tray to kind of fill up a little bit of space. If you want to see the full tutorial for those, I'll leave a link for that video in my description box. So for the next little project, I had this little picture in my stash, and I'm pretty sure that I got it from the Dollar Tree a while ago. And it had a little writing on it, so I just took my sanding block and sanded it off. And then I did a little bit of dry brushing over it with the plaster color just to tone down the pink of it a little bit. And then once that was all done, I decided to draw some letters on the picture. So I'm using this painter's tape just as a guide to help me with the lettering that I'm going to do. So I laid 3 pieces of the painter's tape down, and I removed the middle one, and that'll be my guide for my letters. So I kind of made the tall skinny letters kind of like that you'd see on something by Ray Dunn. And I sketched it out with my pencil first, and then I went back through with my Sharpie paint pen and I went back over the letters. So with the tape being there, it kind of gave me a guide and made everything look straight and even. And then to dress up the bottom of the picture, I just took some of this berry garland from the Dollar Tree and wound it around the bottom just a few times. And then once I had the berry garland in place, I put a little bit of floral foam in the top, and then I used a couple of these little foam hearts from the Dollar Tree and just poked them in the floral foam so they kind of looked like they were floating out of the top of the picture. For the next project, I had this piece of box art from the Dollar Tree in my stash, and I was really excited that I had it because it actually took a lot of work out of it for me because I didn't have to paint the frame at all. I liked how it looked, but I wanted to make this a little bit more neutral, so I decided to take one of these cork sheets and I cut it down to size to fit inside of the box. And because it's adhesive, all I had to do was peel the back off and stick it into place inside the box. So then using that other wooden heart, since it was already painted white, that kind of saved me a step too. I wanted to paint some stripes on it. So I sanded the glitter off of the one side, and then I'm using the back side to paint my stripes. So I'm using washi tape, and I'm just laying pieces down and then taking every other piece out to give me a guide for the stripes. So I started by painting the elephant color on by Waverly. And then after I had peeled the tape off and let that dry, apparently I forgot to turn my camera back on, and I didn't get to show you that I actually went back through with washi tape and I painted smaller stripes in between using the mineral color by Waverly. So once that had dry, I just sanded around the edges a little bit just to distress it. And now I'm gluing on 3 of the tumbling tower blocks because I wanted to raise it up a little bit when I put it inside the box. So once I placed the heart inside of the box, it kind of gave it a little bit of a shadowy effect because it was raised up from those blocks. And I tied a little bow and I glued that over where the hole was going to be, and I was going to be finished with it here. I was just going to leave it like that, but then I found these little laser word cutouts from the Dollar Tree. So using some of these foam mounting squares, I just cut little pieces down to fit on the backside of the words "Be Mine." And normally I would hot glue this into place, but I thought if I use the foam mounting squares, I could put it on and maybe it wouldn't be quite so permanent. So I'll probably be able to pop that word off after Valentine's Day. And then since this is more of a neutral piece, I can just leave it in my tiered tray throughout the spring and even into the summer. Next, I'm going to make a fake goblet for in my tiered tray. So using one of these candlesticks and a little votive holder from the Dollar Tree, I put 4 dots of E6000 glue on the top of the candlestick, and then in between those dots I just added dots of hot glue. That way it has that temporary and permanent hold. Then I painted the whole piece with 2 coats of the plaster color, and then I used my sanding block just to distress it on the high points of the glass. So anywhere the candlestick kind of stuck out, I ran the sanding block over just to distress it a little bit. Then, because this is for Valentine's Day, I decided to take some of this pink gingham ribbon and I hot glued it onto the top of the candlestick, and then I just created a little bow with the same ribbon and I glued that into place. And then my plan for the tray is to maybe put some little candies in here. When I actually set up my tray, I didn't have anything to put in it, so I just stuck a couple pieces of greenery in it. Okay, so this is kind of a little bonus project. I've seen all over YouTube and Pinterest where people are using these little Valentine's treat sacks to make garland, and I think they're really cute, and I'm certainly not the first person to ever come up with this, but I just thought I'd show you how I decided to make mine. And originally I was gonna clip this onto my tiered tray, but it didn't work out. It didn't quite look right. So I separated the seams on the sides of the treat bags, and then I cut the bag in half, and I just hot glued up the bottom to finish it a little bit. And because this red was just a little bit bright for my taste, I decided to dry brush some of the plaster color over it. And then I just tied another simple jute twine bow and I glued that right onto the top of the heart on the treat sack. And I only used 3 treat sacks for my garland. So I took some of this farmhouse ribbon that I found from the Dollar Tree and I put a safety pin on the end of it to help feed it through the top of the treat sack. That's what makes it nice about these, is they already have that channel at the top, so you don't have to create one yourself. It's already there for you. And then once I had the ribbon strung through, I kind of cut it to the length that I thought I would like. And originally I was going to just use little clothespins to clip it on my tray, but since I changed my mind, I actually used the clothespins just to clip it onto a garland that I had created a few weeks ago in a video. So I'll make sure I link that below. So here's a look at how I put my tiered tray together. You can see some of the little projects that I created today, and then if you've watched some of my other Valentine's Day videos, you can see there's a couple of projects in there that I've made previously. I hope you liked this video. If you did, make sure you hit the thumbs up, and I hope you subscribe, and let me know in the comments if you put together a tiered tray for the different holidays. Alright everyone, I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye!